Whoa, guys, I hope that you've got something to stick to because we're going to have some fun. We're going to have a lot of fun today. Monica Miller is with me today. And one of the things you need to know about her is she is an amazing author. She's someone that is a brilliant storyteller. And as we dive into what we're talking about today, which is confrontation creates connection, you're going to be able to experience what it means to not just connect deeply, but to utilize storytelling to have heart-to-heart conversations. So excited to have her on today. I'm going to introduce her to the stage. Welcome, Monica, to the Leveling Up podcast. Glad you're here.
Glad I'm here too.
Absolutely.
We're laughing because it took us a while to set this whole thing up.
Yes, it was a great adventure. You're over there is it a library? Is that right?
I am.
Yeah, it's just a phenomenal opportunity to connect with you. I am so grateful that you took the time out today to not just encapsulate your framework. It's a 3-point framework all about utilizing confrontation in storytelling, because if you don't have confrontation, there's not really a whole lot of story that happens. And I'm really excited to dive straight into this. But first, before we get all the way through your framework, I want to first know, why do people need to listen to you and what's your background?
Yeah. So my background is actually into marketing, but really it goes further than that. So I always start with this story is when I was a little girl, I had a speech impediment. So a lot of people asked me to repeat myself or to enunciate certain words. And it wasn't until I learned how to write that I found that I didn't have to enunciate. I didn't really have to repronounce certain words. I could just be and speak. And it was kind of funny when you think about it when, as a little girl, I couldn't talk talk right and get the ideas out of my head, and now that's exactly what I do with my clients is getting the big ideas out of their heads and into a way that they can easily communicate their value, easily communicate their offers and themselves in a way that connects and converts into paying clients. So that's a little bit about my background. And I just loved marketing, and so here I am helping others market their
They
brilliance.
are. And marketing your brilliance, encapsulating it in a story that actually sells. That's what we love to do. And we're going to talk about it all the way through the rest of this podcast. So let's start here. Your framework is absolutely brilliant. I want to hear how simple it is first. You can give us what these 3 points are, and then we're going to dive deep to understand what they mean. So go ahead.
Yeah,
Talk to us about this framework in a 30,000-foot overview and why it matters to everybody.
yeah. So one of the things I really love about this framework is that it's simple, doable, and you could do it in a speech, in a post, or anywhere you're at, podcast, whatever. So here's a simple framework. It is setup, where we're just setting up like the story. So this is the time that you are actually sharing your story, well, maybe a client's story. The um, you're setting things up, right? So you're drawing your audience in, and the key thing here is you wanna have an incredible hot hook to draw in people into your story. And then the next thing, which is we'll probably be spending some time on, is confrontation. So after you talk about your story, now you're flipping the coin, if you will. You're flipping the coin and saying, "Hey, enough about me. Doesn't this sound familiar? Doesn't this sound like something that you have been struggling with? Or doesn't this sound like your desire?" So you flip it back to them because now that you shared the story and people are nosy by nature, so now they're like, "Oh, the story." And now it's just like, "Oh, now you're talking about me?" And then that's whenever they start to build that connection on like, "Oh, wow, we just got done sharing a story, and now it connects to how I've been feeling, how I've been, relayed into life." And then from there, we go into the resolution, and the resolution is where we're saying, "Hey, my offer is what can help you get to where you wanna go." And because in this story, we're gonna be talking about the pain and the desires, and we're tying it into like a nice little bow in the resolution.
Beautiful. It's super simple. Setup, confrontation, resolution. Anybody can use this off the fly. And I love how beautiful this is. When you look at a setup in any joke or any story, if you don't have clear ideas and a clear context, then people are going to be missing a lot of what the story is. So I always bring up in setup CROW, which is CROW, character, relationship, objective, where. Another way to think about this is who, what, where, when, why. What are the key elements for you when you're talking about the setup?
The key elements that I always tell my clients to use is first is getting a good hook, making sure that your hook is gonna draw people in. I always like to tell them, start in the middle of the story. Whatever story you're gonna use, start in the middle, because the middle is gonna be more exciting than the beginning, because nobody wants to read, "One day I went to the store." Like, nobody they don't care. They wanna read, "This lady slammed a jar right in front of me, cussing at me," something like that, that's gonna get their attention faster than, "I just went to the store one day." And then that way, when you draw them in, so hook, have a strong hook, stay get in the middle of the story, strong hook, and then lead into the story from there, and then you can give that context of, "I was at the store yesterday," or, "I was at the store today when this happened." For example, one of the best examples I have is I had a woman, uh, ask me, you're not a writer, are you?" And that's how I started the hook. That's how I started the story, is that hook. What happened was I was on a call with a potential client, and we were talking about her marketing, and that's when
Mhm.
she asked me, you're not a writer, are you? Marketing copy is different than just regular writing." And, of course, I used the first word she said, or not first words, but she used, "You're not a writer, are you?" And, of course, whenever she asked that, I was pretty aghast because I write for a living. A lot of people know me because of my writing, and here she is, like, basically insulting me. And so I used that, and then I used the context of, I was on a
Mm.
call, this is what we were doing, and this is what she asked me this, and here's some of the things I pulled from it. And she was right about the whole marketing copy is different than writing, and then I went into the confrontation of, if you've been writing content and it hasn't been converting, here's where you might be getting your marketing copy wrong versus, like, just writing copy, because writing copy
Mhm.
and marketing copy is 2 different things, and I
Yep.
taught in that confrontation. So you can almost see how I use a story to get people in, and then I use a teaching lesson, and then, of course, I wrapped it in a bow with at the time, I was offering done for you services, and I'm like, "Hey, I still got 2 spots left if you want me to write for you."
Beautiful. One of the things I love about that is when you're able to grasp a story and say, this is why this matters for you, that is the thing that's going to resonate with your audience. I always talk about this in the idea of translating. When you have a language that you don't understand, if it's not translated well, the message is completely missed. You ever had that experience, Monica, where
Oh, yeah.
someone is speaking in a different language and you're like, I kind of get the context, but I don't know what you're saying.
Mhm.
Every time that we translate a story well, there's pain points. There's things that either draw us to that or away from it. And as we get into that human experience, which is storytelling, we're able to help people see why it matters to them. So let's 30,000 foot overview. Why is confrontation, creating connection essential to know as a business owner, as a speaker, as a thought leader? What are your top 3 benefits for understanding this model?
Yeah. Creating confrontation in your content is going to begin to create clarity with your ideal audience,
Mhm.
especially those who are your warm buyers or your hot buyers. Those people who,
Mm.
they already know they have a problem. They wanted that problem solved yesterday. But now you're offering a solution. You're offering them something to grasp a hold of. And as a thought leader, this is your people. This is you want to start helping them see, like, yes, you already have this. You already know this, and I have the solution, but you need to stay tuned. I'm going to teach you something, because as thought leaders, we want to learn. Like, as a thought leader
Mm.
myself, or, a business owner, I want to learn. So we're going to give them that bit of, like, here's a piece of the confrontation. Here's why we're going to wrestle with this a little bit.
Mhm.
So that is, like, one of the reasons why you wanna use confrontation. And another reason you wanna use confrontation is that you are differentiating yourself. You are saying, like, "This is who I work with. This is what I teach." You're almost showing your people your own value system. You're
Mm.
showing the people you really wanna work with, "This is how it is to work with me. If you like my style, then I invite you to come in, and work with me further. If it's not your style, this is gonna be one of those pieces of content that's gonna repel the wrong clients to you." And the third reason is you wanna bring clarity to those who may not realize that there was a problem. Maybe they had an
Mhm.
inkling, but now that you brought it to their attention, maybe you give them words. Because one of the things that I teach my clients and, I'm always working on is like having the verbiage to communicate what we want to say or having the language to like, "Oh, yeah, like, that's what I've been
Mhm.
struggling with, and I just didn't have the words for it." So bringing that clarity to that person who may be a code person right now, but they're becoming that warm bio because now they're like, "Oh, that is something I've been struggling with, like, I just never heard it in those words." So having
Beautiful.
that in your confrontation and especially as a thought leader, as someone who teaches and leads people, that's why you need to have that confrontation inside of your stories because this is going to close the gap of
Mhm.
the buy-in journey even faster. Because when people see that you can speak their language, you are calling them out and you are up-leveling their lives in a unique and fun way. I don't know, I like fun, okay? So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
me. Fun, like, in a unique way, and they know that you're speaking directly to their heart and to their
Mhm.
needs and desires, you're gonna have them hooked in no time.
Beautiful. So to summarize that, number one was clarity. Number two is differentiation. Number three is awareness to give people the verbiage that they need. Beautiful. That I think everybody wants. We all want to have more clarity in our conversations. We want to have the ability to say, this is how I'm unique and differentiate ourselves. We want to be able to raise awareness to the words that matter for us and for our people. So, one of the things I'm very curious about is when we hear the word confrontation, most of the time in communication, we think, oh, this is going to become a fight. However, in storytelling, without confrontation, you're not actually communicating anything of real value. Can you talk to us about the way you define confrontation and why it is so essential?
Yeah, confrontation I love that you used it as, like, it's like a fight word, and I don't think of it that way. I think of confrontation as almost like a halt, like a policeman holding up their hand, like, "Halt."
I like it.
That visual or like we just watched Frosty the Snowman, and in the scene where Frosty's crossing the road, the policeman had that little sign that says, "Stop." That's how I use it. It's like a pause. Like, I know you're getting to my content, now pause. How can do you see
Mm,
yourself in this? It's a reflection time. It's a time to just say, is this that time to reflect and for the person to start to see like, "Oh, yeah, I deal with the same thing," or, "Oh, yeah, I felt that. Oh, yeah, that's my desire. That's what I ache for. That's where I wanna
mm,
be, but why am I not getting there?" So it's that pause, that reflection, and if you
mm,
are wanted to use more stories, this pause is going to help people to feel you more. It's gonna help them see, reflect like I said, reflect on where they're at, and it's gonna help them just to see where they can go, and that's gonna intrigue them to read your content even more. I don't know, that's how I read my, like, content, and I know that whenever I am feeling the person and I am seeing myself in their content, and it's like they're in my mind because
mm,
they use that same confrontation, that same pause, halt, that's when it starts to create more of a relationship, even if I don't talk to that person, even if me, that person never had a coffee chat, it
mhm,
creates a certain connection because I'm just like, "Man, they see me, heal me." I feel visible and seen and heard, and as I know we all want that,
mm.
but I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I feel like women, we need to be like, we were created to be seen and heard and felt in these ways. Not to say men aren't, but I'm just
Mhm.
saying from my experience, this is what I've learned.
Beautiful. One of the things I think of with confrontation is making sure that the things that need to be brought up, those crucial conversations, are brought to light. Sometimes storytelling will give you a platform that you can share details from an experience or even in a hypothetical, almost parable way to highlight a warning. One of the things I love about this is when you have a story and you can use somebody else's example to say, don't do this because if you do, you're going to lose $800,000 because you didn't collect the contract beforehand and it's going to really mess you up. Like, I know a guy. Those types of stories can start to help you. You're like, all right, what can I take from this? Oh, I I can collect a contract before I start doing work for somebody and before I get 100+ hours in. And I've got one of my good friends I was on a call with earlier today that shared that with me. I was like, thank you for giving me that experience early so that I can know if I'm going to be doing a significant amount of work for someone, I want to make sure I collect that contract, because a verbal contract is not really valuable. It's not defensible. And we can learn from those experiences of others. It's one of the reasons I love storytelling. When you confront those real issues, those pains, those pleasures as well, and we get into the real talk, that's where the magic happens. Let's
Mhm.
talk about some of the ways that you've done this in your coaching practice. I know you also help people. Tell us a little bit about maybe one person that you've helped be able to create confrontation in their story where there maybe wasn't any conflict or confrontation beforehand.
Yeah. One of my clients is a house cleaner.
Mhm.
So most of her content is her, doing before and after photos. There's no confrontation there. She's just sharing the before and after photos, how she can help serve you and clean your homes, right? But she has such a greater story to tell. Her
Mm.
background is, very, like, relatable to so many people. She went through trauma and abuse, and now she's, she's on her way to 6 figures, and she's booked out till April, or longer, I'm not sure. She's booked out months into 2026. And one of the things that we did with her is I helped her see how she can use her story to not only connect with the hearts of her ideal clients, but to start connecting with other house cleaners because she wants to now she's about to open up her own coaching program on
Oh,
how other house cleaners and entrepreneurs can take what she has learned in her 18 years of cleaning houses and apply it to their own businesses. And what we did was I shared with her, "Okay, here's your story, and here's the confrontation." Because in her confrontation, you may not be saying like, "Oh, well, Monica, like, what kind of confrontation could she have with the house cleaning?" But we made it where her confrontation was like, "Hey, I know what it's like when you're going through a hard time." She experienced with her mom, certain things that she did that made her into who she is today. She was forced to clean. So
mm,
she now enjoys cleaning, but she was like, "I know that some of you don't. They don't, you don't like to clean, and you might have some trauma around it. You might have something around, maybe a medical condition." She kind of she made the confrontation more about where her potential clients were feeling and where
mhm.
they were mentally.
Sure.
So from one storytelling post, she was let me see, I think she gained 3 new clients just from one post, and that was within a week's time. It was
That's
something
amazing.
incre she was booked out after that one post that she used as storytelling framework, and then she just invited people to hire her to clean their houses, because she was like, "I'm not just gonna clean your house, and I'm just not a regular house cleaner, I'm gonna come in and love on you," because that's
Mm,
something I didn't get.
that's cool. That's creating a differentiation as well, because people
Mhm.
can buy commodities anywhere, but they can't buy you anywhere.
No, yeah,
As a
correct.
coach, as a thought leader, as a leader, you think about the way that we show up is often the stories that we tell.
Mhm.
There are a lot of things we can do in business and in life, but until other people know, like, and trust us, they're not going to hire us. So, what are some of the ways that you've been able to use confrontation to be able to be hired and to create income and revenue?
Yeah. One of the things, of course, is always sharing this what I'm doing in the moment.
Mm,
I've been noticing a lot of my content lately, I'm getting a lot more sales whenever I talk about the things I'm doing and I'm excited about, and I
mm.
share about it online in the moment. I don't wait till after the moment. I don't wait till I have a whole thesis. I do it in the moment. For example, a couple months ago, I was selling a coloring book, and I know you probably like the coloring book. Come on, Monica. No, I made like $1,500 from within a month, actually within 20 days, 20 or 30 days. It was something insane. And I never would have thought I would have made this much money off a coloring book. But I was so excited about it. I was posting about it in real time, and I was sharing what I was doing. And that got a lot of people asking me about it. So I put on a coloring book, how to create your own coloring book workshop, and that got a whole bunch of people in it. Then I turned it into a journal workshop. I got a whole bunch of people in it, and now I turned it into a mini program called Journal to 1K. That teach you how to make a journal and make 1K in 21 days. And I mean, I got signups pretty quick. And I know it was because I was sharing in real time. I was sharing not only the money incomes, but also what it took. Like, one of the things I share is like, it didn't happen because I was sitting on my tush. It happened because I was out there doing some of the uncomfortable things, like putting together sponsorship packages, putting together, and asking people to buy from me. And that's just a great practice,
Mhm.
especially for those who are feeling maybe wonky about asking for the sell. And because
It's
a
a great
journal and
word,
coloring
wonky.
book
Yes.
yeah, it's journal and coloring book is so simple to sell. If you can't sell that, like, you can. You just have to get over your mind, some of the mind humps, right? And, it also I was sharing, I've shared about how, hey, sometimes it's uncomfortable, and I was scared, but here's what I did, because then I know if I can do it, you can do it too, and I know people are seeing not only themselves in my content, but they're seeing
Mhm.
the possibilities, saying, "Man, if Monica can do this, surely I can." And a lot of people know I'm a good teacher, so they're like, "If she can do it, I can too." So that's what one thing I've been seeing a lot of is
Mm.
just really, like I said, giving them the story in the moment, and then, whenever you go back to share those stories, one of the things I know I'm gonna be working on, and I know that, everyone else could be working on, is whenever we start to retell these stories, because, of course, that's great content, always reuse great
Mhm.
content, and get excited about that content again. What do you need to do to get yourself excited so people can feel your energy? Because when people start to feel your energy behind your content, whether you're doing just a story post or a call to action post, whatever kind of post you're doing, or you're going on live, your energy is matching
Mhm.
your words, whether that's online or offline or on video. Like people can sense and feel you. So you want to make sure that you're in a good space. And if you bash your content, that's okay too. Like, do it from that excited space. So that way, whenever people do read it, they still feel that energy.
Beautiful. I want to talk a little bit more about this energy idea because sometimes people don't even listen to your content at the beginning, but they see how you're interacting. They experience you through the camera or through a post for just a moment,
Mhm,
and they will decide within a second whether or not that's something they want to invite into their life. Every single time we have a story, we get to choose whether or not we're going to share the positive spin or a negative spin on it.
mhm.
Every single time you can find a great way to share that story if you're willing to look for it. There are learnings within those stories. Or you can get really down on yourself and be frustrated and angry about it. An example, earlier today, I was sharing a story with a handful of friends. I had this nice meeting I was at, and I got to speak in it for like 5 to 7 minutes. And I talked about what happened on Sunday. I was invited about an hour beforehand to go to this choir recital. And the way that we have this choir festival is all 11 of these congregations bring one song that they're prepared, and then we sing with each other. And then at the end, there's this nice hallelujah chorus. It's beautiful.
Ah, sounds
We
beautiful.
we had 6 people that were going to show up, and my sister's like, "Can you please come help us?" And I was like, "Sure." So they did it pop-up choir style. Have you ever heard of that? Pop-up
N
choir?
no, but
Uh,
that's so different.
it's super different. It means you're either always prepared, so you can just sing off the cuff, whatever, or you're not never prepared because you didn't put the song together. Either way, we had to sing a song, and it was within an hour. So showed up and we were singing "What Child Is This?" I said, "You know what? I'm going to sing the melody, and I'm happy to share that." We had 6 people get up there, and we sang the first verse beautifully. Second verse was gorgeous. And I was like, man, we're doing really well. And then this little teenage girl, she had her phone go off in her pocket. It's like, bzz, and she answers it during the choir concert. And she's like, oh, I have to go, and walks off stage. Like, she runs off stage in the middle of us singing. There's only 6 of us, so there's no way that you can't see that. And we just keep going. And I was like, I'm glad I'm singing the melody because there goes our soprano. What I took away from this was if you don't set super clear expectations, if you don't finish the song, there's a good chance you're going to get left up on stage and somebody's going to leave you, and it's okay. I didn't ever want to be that person for somebody else. We sometimes have those moments where we're like, am I going to finish this song? Am I going to finish this story? Is this project worth it? I'm telling you right now, every single one of us have those projects in our heads that have been being worked on, but haven't actually had the energy needed to finish. One of the things I hope you guys get out of this is we're going to have some confrontation right now, even if it's Monica, I'm talking to myself too. There are loops that have not been closed, and there are songs that have not been sung all the way to the end. That if you just think for a moment, what is that song that I haven't sung, that I walked off the stage before it was finished? The program that didn't fully load, we didn't go the final percent and whatever that was. If you can identify that and you figure out what's the next step that I can get closer to finishing that song, finishing that project, finishing that speech, whatever it is, you can progress significantly. Now, Monica, you just heard this story about closing loops. I'm curious, what came to mind while you heard that? I know there's probably a story, whether it was a singing story or something. What's a story that comes to mind for you about having tough conversations like this?
I had, whenever you were talking, it reminded me of something I talked about today.
Oh, let's hear it.
Yeah. So, real quick, just like everyone knows, I'm a military wife. I homeschool my kids. I have 2 boys. I homeschool my oldest. My youngest is and he's only 3. So, anyways, so homeschool. I'm teaching an entrepreneurial workshop at a co-op. Let me see, my kids are in Arana and like 2 homeschool groups. I mean, my life is really crazy, and I'm learning. And I'm a projector if you're into human design. And if you know projectors, our energies are up and down, and they just flow really wonky sometimes. And that's okay. Like, I'm learning to flow with that. And I'm also learning how I structure my life is not working for me. And I'm like, okay, I need to start saying no way more often. So
Mm,
lately, on this past like week or 2, I've been feeling really overwhelmed, and I'm noticing the cracks, and things are slipping. And so I was doing this, I'm in a program with one of my clients. She's doing this like small journaling program, and I'm really liking it. And today she asked, like, here's some questions to write down, and then put this prompt and the questions and the answers you gave it into ChatGPT and ask it, well, what is one shift you can do? Or what is one shift can you make? And one of the things it brought up was like, you're in decision fatigue. And
mm,
here's how to re-empower yourself. And it reminded me, like just through all that, it reminded me that many of my clients, and I know many women and men, entrepreneurs, are in decision fatigue in what to post, what to say, what story should I share? Because they keep getting bombarded with, you need to be sharing stories, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, take what's in here, put it out there. But it's like they'll get it into like, well, what do I start with? What do I post? What do I
mm,
share? Like, how do I do that? And then they get into such overwhelm that they don't move. They will rather just be in that space of, I don't know what to say, than, like, actually make a decision because they're in decision fatigue already
mm,
with their life and now their business, because the business, either we want the business to support us, it takes a while for us to learn how to do that. And it changes because we're growing. And, if you're a mom and you homeschool and do the crazy things that I'm doing, then like it changes. One
mm,
day, very soon, I'm going to have 2 kids instead of 1 to homeschool. So
mm,
it's just like that matter of, how do I begin to support myself? And so that's one of the things like I talked about today was I want to create I'm creating a space for you to not have decision fatigue when it comes to your content. That's why
mm,
I created systems so that way you know exactly what to post and how to do it and when to do it. And so that way there's no decision fatigue. You can give that up. You can surrender that and there's no more guessing. And you
mm.
can feel empowered and you can relax and allow people to truly feel you and rather feel like, I'm just not, I just can't because I don't know what to say. You're just in so much overwhelmed. So that's why then I went into my resolution, which was my program Rise and Shine. And I just talked about this is what I do in Rise and Shine. My program is where I
Mhm.
help people put together a content system where they can get out of that fatigue, that decision
Mhm.
fatigue, and get back into empowerment. So that way they can show up confident, and explaining themselves in a way that people can heal because they're showing up differently. So that was
Excellent.
like what I talked about today. And I was waiting to hear your resolution. I didn't hear a
Ooh,
resolution when you were
I
sharing
love
your
it.
story.
So good. Now, resolution. This is something that I'm hearing from you over and over is it's not just about having a good setup. It's not just about the confrontation. It's what do we do to tie these bows up?
Mhm.
Make sure that we have this story packaged in a way that people can do something about it. Decision fatigue is often that frustrating moment in the middle where you're like,
Mhm.
I don't know what to do yet. But if you can take away most of your decisions and say, you have this or this, we call this a double bind. If you're talking about neurolinguistic programming, you say, would you like to go down the right or would you like to go up above on the right? And you're like, wait a second, I'm still choosing the right. You're like, yes, but you're going to go this way or you're going to go that way. You're like, oh, perfect. A lot of times in storytelling, especially when it has to do with business, if you legally, ethically, and morally know that what you are selling will help somebody, then you're going to give them every opportunity to make that decision and help them help themselves. Now, if you don't know if it's right for them because you haven't asked the question, is this going to help benefit you and you don't know what they are trying to do? You're just telling them something, and there's a ton of reactants that pop up. But creating a resolution is all about making sure that whatever they want is tied to the transformation that you can do for them. If you're not able to do that by bridging with a story, then people are not going to see how you can help them. So, how do you, Monica, take people from I have decision fatigue or I'm frustrated with X, Y, or Z and say, here's the one decision I suggest based on everything you've shared? Here's the resolution. Can you talk to us about resolution in your context?
Yeah. So resolution for me, like I said earlier, is that nice little tie, you're tying up your post, you're tying up, you walk them through the story, through the confrontation. Now it's time to wrap it up with, hey, what can you offer? So
Mhm,
going back to the example of decision fatigue with your content,
mhm,
I one of the ways I would say it is, if you are you don't know what to say. If this is you, you don't know what to say. You know that you have so much to say, but you have so much wisdom. You want to share it, but you don't even know where to start.
yeah,
In my program, Rise and Shine, one of the things that we do is we get really clear about what you're offering and how to talk about it in such a way that it removes all the fatigue so that you can focus on the results, the connection, and the
mhm,
authenticity that you want to bring. So that way, whenever you're speaking on stage or you're speaking on social media, wherever that is, you're communicating the value, you're sharing with people how their lives are going to be changed, and you know exactly what to say because it's always been in you. It's just you just had too many decisions to find it. This is what Rise and Shine does. We find that transformation, we find that clear path,
mhm.
and we put it in a repeatable system. So you can repeat this over and over and over again and get the same results, as we move through the program. So that way, by the end of the program, you will have a repeatable system that works with content that you can repurpose at any given time. And
Beautiful.
that's what my resolution would be.
I love it. Now, one of the things I love to ask my guests is at the very end of this podcast, why do people need to listen to the Leveling Up podcast? Experience and connecting with me, all those different things. Kind of tie this whole episode up in a bow. If someone is just coming in to experience this, why do they need to listen to the Leveling Up podcast? And how does this improve your confidence as you are sharing great stories?
Yeah. So are we talking about just in a whole or today's episode?
I would say let's stick to as a whole, and then you at the end you can hone it into today's episode as well.
Yeah, in a storytelling way or just anywhere I
Sure.
want? Okay,
Any way you
wanna
want.
make
Any
sure
way you
I'm
want. This
clear.
is stage is yours.
Yeah, yeah. So the reason you want to listen to a Level Up podcast is because if you know that there's been a caller in your heart saying, I don't want 2026 to look the same as 2025. I want to grow. I know I have a bigger calling and I know I'm not tapping into it right now. This is a podcast to listen to start learning to identify what it is you need to tap into so that way you can fulfill your life's calling, move into the journey that God created you to be on, and become the man or woman that you know you were destined to be all along. This is why we need to be on the Leveling Up podcast.
Boom, that's so good. Now, this episode specifically, why do you feel like this episode is unique and something that people need to listen to be able to level up their life?
Yes, because in 2026, I know I'm gonna be talking a lot about this because it's been on my mind. 2026, the content you are going to be writing then is not the same content you'll be writing this past year. It's just not. People are done with the charades. They're done with the, oh, I just sat down and I made $1 million. Like no one's believing that BS anymore. What people want is transformation. They want experiences. They want real connection. And you know what gives them that? What gives them that is a story. What gives them that is seeing you real and raw and live, whatever that looks like, whether that's on video, stage, or content. They want to know that you can lead them, you can guide them, and you are the coach for them. They're not invested in just any old Joe anymore. They're going to be invested in someone that they can authentically connect with, and they can see that you are the real deal, meaning that you are going to talk about subjects that no one else is talking about. You're going to go there because you know that your future and the future of your clients is worth it. And that is why storytelling is so powerful. And I believe in the midst of AI, we are going to see an uprise and an uptick of storytelling posts that leads to transformations and leads to more experiences with the business owner because people are just done. Like they don't want to read your AI content. They want to be connected. And not to say that AI isn't great, but I'm also saying that maybe it's time to take your foot off the brake a little bit on AI and start tapping back into your inner wisdom. And that's why storytelling is so important right now.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Monica. Now, one of the things I love to tie up for my guests, because every single time you guys are up here, I'm going to share with you my framework story, which is significant, translate, objective, relive, and yes. We're talking about confrontation creates connection. If you don't have significant confrontation or conflict in your story, you don't really have a story. You have some nice ideas. The difference between an elevated story, something that's going to really draw connection, like what we talked about on this whole podcast, was, is this significant? Is it something that is going to create progress, help you level up your life in all these different ways? Now, what that does for you, let me translate this for you. When you have deep connection and you are someone that is willing to do the real work of communicating, those conversations that you have can become transformational. Now, the objective side of this is talking about your purpose, the thing that you are driven to do, the core desire, whatever it is you want to accomplish. If you can't attach your core desire, the thing that you want more than anything, to that story, people will not see the connection. Your job as a storyteller is to help them see why it matters for them. And you stick to that goal, that focus, that objective until it is either completed, like I said with that song. You finish the song, don't walk off the stage, or you say, this no longer serves me. I'm going to make an intentional loss on this, cut the ties and have that necessary ending and go on to something else. Every time you have an objective, you get to choose, am I going to finish this or not? Now, the last thing here with relive, this is using all of the different senses that you have. Making sure that as we're performing this, we're using our visual, audio, kinesthetic, our gustatory, every single element, all of our 5 senses to be able to experience this story. Now, when you do that on social media, when you do that with different people, it makes your message land. It makes it meaningful in a way that it wouldn't be in others. Because sometimes people need to be able to see it. They need to visualize it. Sometimes they need to hear it really crisply and clear. And sometimes they need to have it put out so simple with a story or a metaphor that they can visualize it. Mm-hmm. They have to sometimes touch it because of the ways that you talk about this. Every single time you make it more vivid for people, your story can land deeper. And then the final element to any great story, specifically for marketing, is you have to have a clear, concise call to action. The yes. I like to have an exclamation point after this. I forgot to put that on here, but a yes meaning I'm going to do something based on what I have experienced. Now, we talked about confrontation creates connection. Today, what is our call to action? I'm going to give you one very simple thing. Monica has very graciously shared her framework, her ideas. I hope today that you take a few moments. Go check out monicawrites.com. She's got a bunch of different books she's done, a few that are just really cute as well, because you don't just do cool stuff, great, brilliant things. You also do some coloring books, which I think is just a delight. So tell us, why do people need to go to monicawrites.com, Monica?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. My mic said it was off, and I'm like, no. Okay. Um, so yeah, go to my website because I got tons of blogs talking all about storytelling, content creation, content strategy, speaking, all that, right? So you can go and read all my blogs. You can also go and learn more about me and what kind of speaking topics I have. And you can even get on a free 30-minute call with me where we can talk about your story, how you could take your story, put it into the storytelling framework so that you can start bringing in more conversions and connections, especially as we start to step into 2026. So definitely check out my website and check out how I can support you in your stories, in your story now and moving into the new year.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Monica. Guys, I'm really stoked to have her on today. If you like this episode, go and make sure you like and subscribe. Give us some love on social media. Go follow her. Now, one of the final elements here, if you haven't been able to get my book, 3 Reasons Stage Fright Costs and Why You Must Fix It, DM me, right? Just put 3 reasons. I'll know what to do. I'll send you that for free. This little ebook is something that I'm really passionate about. I actually just recently updated it yesterday, so it's even more juicy and amazing. So you do not want to miss it. This is going to help you be able to transform your stories and the way that you connect with people. And it's all based on confidence. If you can confidently communicate, you can change everything in your life, all different aspects. So thank you so much, Monica, for being on today. We're going to hit that live stream and finalize this, but I appreciate you. Thank you so much for all that you do and being on the Leveling Up podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, 1 second. It didn't hit. I hit the media thing, but it did not hit the.
I was just like, am I like
Oh, it was supposed to be right there.